How are we doing? How is everyone? Say goodbye to the evil duck. We're going to put him down for right now. There is a ton of story and lore in this game already. And I mean like a ton. I've tried to put a bunch of it together. I don't have everything. I'm not going to have everything, and I'm definitely going to get some things wrong. But I put a lot of it together, along with some theories from around the internet. Cannot take credit for them all. There's some really amazing channels that I'm sure I will put in a description box if you're watching this post the time that it's streamed, who have noticed a bunch of these things that I've tried to put all together. There's a really cool story that they seem to be doing with the game at large, where they are breaking down the fourth wall, so to speak. The fact that the player has the ability to affect the world and build things in the world is part of the story in the world. There's been some hints of the player being addressed as like an avatar, and a lot about the player being addressed as a curse breaker, and that there's some significance to the fact that you can even affect the world or build in the world at all, which is a really cool idea. Let's begin. I've put a bunch of stuff together, okay? Bear with me. All the lore. If you don't know, if you're new to this, the world is currently split up into 4 different zones. These zones are comprised of biomes that fit together, and they have independent biomes above ground and below ground, both of which are distinct to that unique zone. You begin in the first zone, in Zone 1, which is the kindest, so to speak, and then you progress into future zones. There's supposed to be 6. Only 4 of them are completely confirmed, but there's a lot of theories about the last 2 already, which we'll get into. In Hytale, there are 2 main deities. I don't know if they're actually considered deities, but that's at least the closest thing I can think to compare them to. There's Gaia, which, just like in our world, represents the earth and the world. There are statues of her throughout the world that are supposed to worship her from a bunch of different civilizations. And then there's Varen, who is the baddie, and he represents the void, which seems to be coming into this world to corrupt it. In this world, which they've called Orbis, which is wonderfully unfitting, 5 main elements: wind, earth, lightning, water, fire, and then a 6th void, which seems to exist between them all, okay? So keep that in mind, put a pin in it, move with me back to the different zones, okay? Zone 1, earth, right? Zone 2 is called Howling Sands, that's wind. Zone 3, Borea, is water. Zone 4, the Devastated Lands, is fire, which leaves lightning and void. You can see in the little unannounced areas in here that the 5th one has a bunch of lightning element, and then the 6th one would then be the void, which is, I don't know, the heart of the corruption that's happening due to Varen, that you as a player get to uncover. I'm gonna move my face a little bit again. To the left of me, to the left of my head, there is the symbol for Varen, which is this little diamond that's very significant. You'll see it showing up as a green shape a lot of the time, green for Varen. His colors are the green for him being green, and the purple for the void. And then we have the symbols for Gaia, which usually resembles a sort of tree with 5 different points. I'm going to move my face back. Gaia presides presumably over Orbis, but also maybe over this extra world to the left of it. There's 5 different potential worlds in the game. Not confirmed that all of those are actually coming to it because this is concept art, but there is definitely hints that at least the one on the left, Numdrasil, will exist with something to do with Gaia. And then there's theories that Nexus has to do with Varen. There's nothing more than theories. Nobody knows. It's all just speculation, but you can definitely see in Orbis, there's, the Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, already all represented there. And I put it sideways for a reason I don't know. So, you can see all 4 of those zones represented. 5th zone lightning, right? There's been this concept art where the players will have access to propellers and wings. It's already been confirmed on Twitter that there will be a grappling hook of sorts that you can use to propel yourself. And there's this concept art from a while ago with an island in the sky. And so people have theorized then that the Zone 5 for the lightning theme will feature sky islands, that you can use these devices that they're obviously very deliberately putting in game. Oh, I know they have a glider as well. I don't know if that's the same as the mechanical wings, but they do have a glider. We've also seen a hot air balloon, that those would be used to let you navigate between sky islands in Zone 5, which would be absolutely epic. All that aside, Portalcraft also features really, really heavily in the game, not just to reach other areas in the game, because there's probably going to be different worlds, different dimensions. They've already shown an active portal in the game, but they also want portals to be used eventually in the game to be able to move between different people's worlds. So that if you make, I don't know, the right kind of portal in your world, you would be able to bring yourself and potentially even the items on your person directly into one of your friends' worlds. No real server hosting required. You just open it up and you use a friend list to admit somebody in. This one was a shot from the recent gameplay that was last week, where you can see an active portal that leads to a place called Bleakroot Bog, which has been confirmed that these things are not necessarily dungeons, but they are important story beats. And we see a little glimpse at what that might be a little bit later. But you, as the player, are very significant because the player seems to be referred to as the curse breaker. There's been a lot of different theories about this. I'm going to address a couple big ones. I have an opinion myself, but I'm just going to lay them out here before I opinionate too much. So, in this world, there used to be humans. It doesn't seem like they are human humans anymore. They're humans, but they're not human humans. We'll get into it. But we can see concept art for a couple of them right here. This is the only actual human concept art I believe we've ever gotten. There's Tessa, who you can see the symbol of Gaia on her armor, on her sword. And then you can see Kairos looks like some sort of void corrupted human who also has the symbol of Gaia, but now has the colors of Varen with the green and the purple instead. So there used to be humans. Now the world seems to be full of their ruins and the undead, which does not limit itself to humans. This right here is an undead chicken. But people have theorized that perhaps the curse is related to all of these undead people that are around. There's undead in every single zone that we've seen so far. There are undead in the Emerald Grove, Borea. This one's a really sick one from the Devastated Lands. It looks so cool. And they still seem to be keeping the jobs that they had in real life, or when they were alive in real life. They were miners. I think there's been concept art for pirates. It's really cool. So, there's undead people that are walking all around the world. They still live in the ruins of human civilization across what seems like all the 4 zones that are known about so far. There is, however, another theory on the curse, and this is the one that I am most invested in. I think there's a bunch of story stuff to do with the humans and the skeletons, but that's not where I think the curse and the curse breaker stuff comes from. So, Gaia right here. She's got the 5 ponytails for the 5 different elements of Orbis, and there are a lot of hints that her power and her presence has been limited and or corrupted by the presence of Varen. So we can see these elements of hers present all throughout the world. So here's dungeon concept art with all the different elements, including the void element that you can find throughout the world. Different towers that are in all these different elemental styles, even different weapons. They've confirmed that there's weapons that have different elemental powers, staffs that have different elemental magics, wands, all this sorts of stuff. So this power is obtainable by the player. They've also said the magic system right now is very limited, but they're going to expand it. So this is clearly an idea that they have that they want to follow through with. And there are these stone circles, which is really interesting. So we see a few examples of them in screenshots released so far and in gameplay. And And you can see inside the stone circle, there's a little bit of a pedestal that has these sort of crystals on it. And they're active right here. And in this one, they're not active. I don't know if this is supposed to be the same thing because it's not quite the same build. Maybe it's a previous version. Your guess is as good as mine. But here you can see another one, once again, lit with that magic. And it seems like this is the same as the one that's represented here in the bottom right. Maybe you would be able to find these in each of the zones that have that respective type of energy. So like, zone 1 for Earth and so on and so forth, and obtain those types of magic from whatever zone you go to. Just a theory. I don't know if that's true. But it would be pretty cool. One way or another, these are clearly used for something and they look very, very magical. There's also these dungeon gates that you can get to that seem to have portals inside of them. So in this case, there is a portal that is there specifically to take you into a dungeon, or I think what's called an instance in the game. And we have that type of gateway represented right here. This was in gameplay footage from last week. So they're clearly in the world. They exist. But what we also have, Zone 1. This is where we start getting into the juicy stuff, okay? So I'm not going to cover all the flora and fauna. There's a ton of it. There's like 100 plus, 150 something mobs that have already been confirmed, and many hundreds more that they have models for that just don't have any life, any AI to them yet. Emerald Grove, starting region. This is the most peaceful part of the game. Although there are dangers in here as well. This is what it looks like at nighttime, and in one of the biomes. All this bioluminescent. You can see the little deer over there that's got like a flower crown on the horns. It's so cute. But this is the coziest place to live as far as we can tell so far. Very peaceful and home to a bunch of different really cool animals. I'll pop a few of them up here. These are the moss horns. Don't actually know if these are going to be in Zone 1. They might be in Zone 3. We don't know. I'm not sure. This looks actually like it could be a biome from Zone 3. I don't know. But it also looks really similar to this next one, which is definitely Zone 1. These are the fens. We got little fen stalkers in here. They're like little frog lizard people that crawl out of the water. And the quebecs. The quebecs are one of the things I'm most excited for. They are adorable little plant people that live in the Emerald Grove and are the player's earliest allies when you join the game. They have a whole life cycle in the game where they begin as these little seedlings dropped from a tree. They grow up like this. Here's a little baby. They grow into adults, and then eventually they can become what is called a tree singer. Or they can plant themselves, become a tree, and then drop more little seedlings like this. I don't know if that life cycle is going to be in the initial release of the game, but I know that it's coming. And it's such a cool idea. It feels so vivid and so alive. And eventually all these factions that are in the world will interplay with one another, really whether you're involved in the process or not. It will just kind of play out around you as a very living world. So they've got a really cool culture. The firefly lanterns. You can see there's concept art of them keeping pets. Don't think that's been seen in any gameplay yet, but it would be really cool. You can see a little diagram of their homes where you go into these little underground tunnels. It's all very, very cute. Some of them are not so peaceful. They do have weapons. There's also a redesign of them that was made after the acquisition in 2020 that seem to be elsewhere in the world. We're going to get to that later. The quebecs do have weapons because they do have natural enemies in Zone 1, which are the trorks. These are like, troll orcs, trorks, who have camps in Zone 1. And all these different types of them, it seems like some of them might be able to control dogs. Not confirmed, but would be a really cool thing. And these all live in the Emerald Grove with the quebecs. There's also these elemental creatures and golems. It seems like there is a golem and an elemental creature for every single zone. We can see from the music that the composer for Hytale has made so far. We scroll down. Here we go. Elemental for all these different... here, let me get it below my face. There we go. Elemental for all of these different elements. We got the mage towers for them too. It's very, very cool. There's also these void spiders that are below the Emerald Grove in the caves. The spiders, as far as I understand, do have the ability to climb up walls, which is just terrifying. In Zone 1, we can see in footage released last week, right over there, let me put my mouse over it, right over here, something that looks like a Gaian portal. We can see the concept art here. It looks very similar to the building there, and you can see that there's a portal beneath this that takes you somewhere. Not confirmed where it takes you. There's a couple options that might be possible. Here's concept art of the Temple of Gaia. I'm going to move my face a little bit again. So you can see in the left-hand side of the screen over there, there is Gaia lying in what seems to be a sort of imprisonment. It looks like there's void-like vines that are creeping up around her, and this is part of why I think that the whole Cursebreaker thing has to do with addressing the presence of Varen and the Void, because clearly there's something happening to her and to the natural world here that the player would have to encounter. There is, however, also this Garden of Elements. This was initial concept art for it, but you can actually see it in the game. Here's a map view of it, where you can see defeat the Golem. Help Quebex to defeat the corrupted Golem, which we can actually see gameplay footage of from the original trailer years ago. And so the Quebex, being part of nature, are having to address what looks like a very corrupted place that's supposed to honor Gaia, and has now been corrupted by the Void that you as the player have the opportunity to go and save. Hence the whole Cursebreaker thing. So, this is one last thing for Zone 1. Don't know if it actually belongs here. This is just my guess. This is the sole concept art, to my knowledge, that we've ever gotten of a Clops, which obviously, Cyclops, you can see it has one little eye. But it has there's a little fire, it looks like a firefly lantern over here. So I'm gonna guess that this is also in Zone 1. It's got those cozy, cute little Zone 1 vibes. That's Zone 1. Which, before we move on, we can also see in the official playlist, these little references. We have one to Gaia and Varen. We have Gaia's theme here. We have the Avatar, which probably references the player. And the player's ability to affect the world. We have Pillars of Foundation, which makes me think about those stone circles. I don't know if that's the case, but it really makes me think about that. And then they also have Gaia's Lament, which I do think about in reference to her being in... It wasn't quite a casket, but she looked stuck somewhere, or very fast asleep like Sleeping Beauty. It makes me wonder. It gets me thinking. But anyways... Back to Zone 2. The Howling Sand. So this one is for the element of wind. This is a big desert and mesa region, or savanna region. And all these zones have these two main groups of beings that are in conflict, that I would assume are in all these different places so that the player can kind of choose a side and watch the world change around them depending on what they choose. So... in Zone 1, we do get the humans. Not real humans, but skeletons. We can see a lot more of their ruins in here. I don't know if that's actually true or if we just have more images of them in here so far. But we definitely do see a lot of them in here. Skeletons manning human ruins, where humans used to live before whatever turned them all into skeletons that are still animated. You can also see in these clips from the world map... And obviously, this is just subjectively generated for whatever world you're in. But this is mapped from last week's gameplay footage, and you can see these giant skeletons of enormous creatures that are dead in the landscape. It does make me wonder if that's related to whatever happened to the humans. Maybe the humans fought these things and they both died, and the humans ended up animated and these things didn't. But whatever the case, you can see these enormous remains littering the landscape. You even catch a glimpse of one with, it looks like a little red light on it. Don't know what that's about in the gameplay footage. You can see a few more of them here. But aside from the humans, we have the Farens, which are these adorable little fennec fox people who live in Zone 2. You can see they have these bracers on them that, if you remember, this is the symbol for wind, or for freedom in the game. Put a pin in that. Remember it. It's going to come back in a second, but they are, it seems like, both a warring people and a nomadic people. I think you can find some songs for them over here. Where do we have them? We have the Fair and Art of the Dance, because they seem to be martial artists. Fair and Reflection, yeah, Fair and Martial Arts, Fair and Nomads, Fair and Sand Rangers, Tough Nuts. So, we have the Farons, who seem to have civilizations and homes of their own, but they also have, like I pointed out a little bit ago, these freedom bracers, because they were, and or still are, maybe some were and some still are, enslaved by these beings called the Scarix. Oh, there's the wind symbol. There we go. Enslaved by these beings called the Scarix. The Scarix are a hive of insectoid creatures who live in these crazy looking temples. And you can see that there's concepts for cells beneath the temples themselves, where presumably Farons still live, and maybe they were forced to build these temples for the Scarix, since I don't think the Scarix have thumbs. But maybe the Scarix built them, I don't know. But I'm going to assume that at least the Farons had some role to play in this. And then there seems to be a sand empress contained below one of these temples. You can see in here, there's even an iconography for the Sand Empress, which looks to be like a really big Scarix. I would assume it's something different from, we got this brood mother here. I don't know. But they're giant creepy crawlies. And so, just like Zone 1, you got the Quebecs and the Trorks. Here you got the Farons and the Scarix. Zone 3, Borea. We have a frozen wasteland out here. And this is a location where we have seen what are called void eyes. These might be in a bunch of different areas of the world, but we've, to my knowledge, only seen them in Zone 3 footage so far. These are obviously from Varen. We have Varen's symbol right here. If we go back a little bit, let me move my face. We can see to the left of my face, Varen's mark, which is the evil, and then the evil contained. So we're about to get a very good glimpse in here of what Varen's power looks when it's in full force in this world. So let's skip ahead a little bit. These seem to be floating Cthulhu-esque beings sent by Varen. To do what? Don't know. But they fly around. We have footage of them from last week being able to be brought down from the sky with an arrow, and then they spawn these little crawlers, which we've also seen the crawlers in Zone 1. Don't know how widespread they are. But again, you can see that very clear green diamond mark from Varen, and the green eyes representing Varen as well. And we can see these Varen spawn, which we can also see in the background down here. They've been in a few bits of footage and screenshots. Don't know how widespread those are either, but obviously when you get to Zone 3, you're going to be hitting more of these more often as the story increases. So in Zone 3, we have, as the bad faction, the Outlanders. And these are humans? They at least were humans. They are the closest human thing that seemed to have survived whatever made all the skeletons. And you can see that they have the Varen symbol on their chests. They have it on their banners. Some of them even have these green eyes. We can see in concept art for them these pools. So Zone 3 is the zone of water, Borea. When the water here isn't frozen, it seems to at least have the potential to be corrupted. So we have these Outlander pools where the Outlanders, here's a cool little image of one of their villages where you can see a bunch of death markers from Simon, who died a lot to them, and a spawn set, which is pretty cool. Anyways, they have these underground pools with very vivid, almost purplish looking water where they are performing arcane rituals to transform members of their own into these big awful beasties. So here, not only do you have the Void Eyes and the Varen spawn, but you have these Outlanders who used to be regular humans, presumably, who are transforming themselves to this. And you can, again, see that green diamond on the top of their head, denoting Varen's power. On the opposite side of them, you have the Fawns, which is over there on the left-hand side. This is the only concept art we've ever gotten of one of these things. And it looks like they could have been able to control wolves, but recently, by Riot, it was announced that they were canceled and removed from the game. However, they have been brought back into the game very recently. Don't know if they have any life of their own yet, or if they're just kind of sitting there. But this is the only image we've gotten of one in-game that I think came through last week. It's very foggy, just sitting there in the background, but Fawns exist in Zone 3. And presumably have some sort of druidic power that counters the presence of Varen and the Outlanders. Very, very excited to see what these things can actually do. There's also an ice dragon somewhere in here. We know there's a fire dragon. We know there's a void dragon. Don't know where they are or what purpose they're going to serve. Probably some sort of boss battle. We do have an ice dragon in here. This is a boss in the game that currently has no real function or intelligence, but they put the model in here just because it looked epic. They wanted to show it off, which I understand. It does look epic. I'm very excited for whatever it one day becomes. Also have, on the skeleton front, these undead dogs, and we were able to see a hint of one following what looked like its master in the gameplay released last week. And its owner, this skeleton here, is also carrying a gun. It looks like a musket of some sort. So clearly in these different zones in Orbis, these humans had different cultures, which now get represented through the skeletons. So it seems like depending on the skeletons you're encountering, what zone you're encountering them in, they will be carrying different items. They will have different models for their armor and everything, which is really cool. We also have the Yetis, which seem to be able to pick up blocks and hurl them. Very exciting. We also have this. This was very interesting, released in the gameplay footage last week. This was just very briefly in there. This looks like it's a corrupted Quebec. And I'm really wondering if the redesign for the Quebecs that was done over the last few years isn't getting moved to Zone 3. So there's regular old Quebecs in Zone 1 that are very peaceful, and then there's corrupted Quebecs in Zone 3 where it seems like Varen's power is getting stronger. And maybe this has something to do with that corrupted Gaian temple that we saw with the corrupted golem inside of it. Maybe those are all interconnected. There is a very brief, I don't have a picture of it here. There's a little image of it in the very back of a teaser posted ages ago where you can see the front of it has a little green diamond on its chest because it's affected by Varen. Zone 4, the last zone that we currently really know anything about, the Devastated Lands. This is a fiery wasteland. I have a personal theory that it didn't used to be a fiery wasteland, but now it is because of whatever happened with the humans, and maybe with those giant skeletons in Zone 2, I don't know. But we can see that the fire has affected the landscape. We got these fiery skeletons, which look so cool. So cool. And this... these fiery animals. There is a name for this one. I'm forgetting it. But really cool looking creatures where it looks like their environment have really shaped them, just like so much else in the world. So, Zone 4 has this really, really fiery, inhospitable surface level, and it even looks like the upper layer of caves are very inhospitable. But then you progress further and further beneath the ground, you get to these subterranean jungles, just a little underground paradise. And here we have the Slothians, which I am so excited for. Listen, the good guys, I'm assuming, in every one of these biomes, or zones rather, are so cool. So the Quebecs, I want to see so bad. The Farins, the fawns, and now the Slothians. This was art of a Slothian that was posted relatively recently. They live in these underground jungles that look to be bioluminescent jungles, and they look very sweet, but they have to be very powerful. I mean, they've got these training ranges that they have down here to practice their fighting. You can also see on their pillars, we have the sloth face at the top, and then below it, there looks like some sort of bestial face with a bit in its mouth, like you would get if you put a harness in a horse's mouth. Been speculated that this could signify that they attempt to control the other group that lives down here in these subterranean caves, which are dinosaurs. They're bioluminescent dinosaurs. You can see a bioluminescent T-Rex back here and a poor little Slothian who has no idea it's on the way. We can see another one back here and a bioluminescent Triceratops. There's a lot of these dinosaurs that seem to be in the game. According to images that we've seen and some lists that we've seen of mobs in the game. And there's been some speculation that maybe the Slothians not only try to fight them, but try to ride them. Don't know if that's true, but it would be really, really cool if it was. And that's that. That's everything that I could find regarding the story. Presumably all of these elements and opposing factions continue in zones 5 and 6 that are probably Sky and Void. There's a couple other little bits that I threw in here at the end just because I didn't know where to put them. There's little cave assets. There's goblins underground. Also didn't know where to put the goblins. Don't know what purpose they serve in the story. Some of them have bombs. And they also steal a lot of treasure and hoard it. So I would assume that attacking goblins underground, if you're successful, will get you a lot of loot. There are also these little farms that we've seen and these green fires around, which I wonder if they have something to do with the Outlanders and Varen. We can see them in Outlander towns. And maybe they're used to either control power from Varen or maybe repel power from him. I don't know. But this person's living in Zone 3, which is not a super friendly place to live, and is using these as a perimeter, which does make me wonder what they're used for. But that's all I have. I'm super, super hyped. It couldn't come soon enough. We're getting an announcement this week. We're getting an announcement later this week about when the release date is going to be. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next stream. And if you're watching this later, compiled onto YouTube or something, then maybe give it a little share, subscribe, or a little like and a follow or whatever. I was out and about recently, a rare occurrence, and I saw signs for an estate sale. Okay? I saw signs for an estate sale, and had to go to the estate sale. And sitting just front and center in the middle of the lawn was this wonderful piece that I had to have. And so I asked the guy, how much is it? How much? And he said, you can have it for the price of taking it home. Welcome to Cage Time. Oh, look at it. It's the devil.